It's that time of day again. It is story time. So, as I told you yesterday, we are now on Hazel's night out. So get comfy and let's find out what Hazel is going to do on her night out. Hazel, the little brown donkey, and Edward Bear were the very best of friends. They went everywhere and played everything together. Sometimes Hazel pulled Edward around a little cart, and sometimes Edward would pull the cart and give Hazel a ride just for a change. At night when they were tired, they tucked themselves into a little corner of the windowsill behind the curtain. Hazel liked to gaze out of the window and dream that she was sleeping in a field like a real donkey. Edward would tuck the curtain round him and snuggle up to Hazel and dream that he was actually where he really was, in a nice cosy corner of the playroom with his very best friend. "Why do you pretend you're outside?" Edward asked Hazel one day. "You'd be cold and miserable if you really slept in a field." "Of course I wouldn't," said the little donkey. "I have thick fur to keep me warm." "Well, I'm quite happy to stay inside," said Edward. They settled down in their usual place that night. But next morning, when Edward woke up, Hazel was nowhere to be seen. Edward sat down to try and remember where he'd last seen his friends. "Now," he said to himself, "was she definitely with me last night?" But he already knew the answer. Yes, of course she was, because we were talking about how nice it would be to sleep in a field. Then, "Oh no," he said out loud, "perhaps Hazel has gone outside." Edward rushed to look out the window. It was pouring with rain. The grass glistened, the trees dripped, and the sky looked as grey as old saucepans. Edward looked at the lawn, and he looked at the hedge, and then he looked at the field beyond the hedge, and then he saw Hazel. She was standing quite still in the middle of the field, staring at the ground. "She's there!" cried Edward. "She's outside in the field, and I'm going out to get her." Lots of the other toys said they would come too, and soon a crowd of them, wrapped in coats and under umbrellas, were trudging across the lawn. "Hazel!" called Edward. "Come in, you'll get soaked." "I can't," called Hazel. "What does she mean she can't?" said one of the other toys. "I don't know," said Edward. "I'll go and find out." Edward made his way across the field until he came to his old friend. "Hazel," he said, "have you been out here all night?" "Yes," said Hazel sadly. "And are you coming in now?" "No," said Hazel. "Why not?" asked Edward. "Because I'm so wet that my legs are all heavy in the rain, and I can't walk," said Hazel miserably. "Oh, I see," said Edward, and patted his friend gently. Sure enough, Hazel's fur was so full of rainwater that she felt like a sponge. "Can't you walk at all?" asked Edward. "Not at all," said Hazel. "My hooves feel as though they are fixed to the ground." "Don't worry," said Edward. "I think I may have the answer." Rushing back to the house, he fetched the little cart that Hazel usually pulled. Then, with some of the other toys, he dragged it across the field to the soggy donkey. With everyone pushing and pulling, they heaved Hazel into the back of the cart and trundled her across the field and back to the house. Once inside, they tipped her out, and everyone set to work to rub her fur dry. At last, the poor donkey could move again. "Real donkeys don't get wet, do they?" said Hazel. "Not as wet as you," said Edward kindly. "But you're not a real donkey. You're a toy donkey, and toys have to stay dry." But to make his friend feel more like a real donkey, Edward cut out a picture of a shiny star and pinned it to the curtain. "Now you can look up and pretend you're outside," he said kindly. "This way you can sleep under the stars and stay dry." "I like that," said Hazel, gazing at the star. "I think I shall be happy to sleep indoors now." So there is our story today of a little donkey who wanted to see what it was like to be a real donkey, but actually was better off inside. So I'll see you later. Bye.